We have filed charges against the state of New York. We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul. We have filed charges against Letitia James and Mark Schroeder, who is with DMV.
New York. New York. Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. I was not expecting this. Truly, I was not expecting this. Look, it's your host, Bruce GNT, back with another video. And we got some things to talk about. So this happened a little while ago, but I wanted to combine it, especially when I heard the breaking news of what was going on with the governor of New York. So it's, 2-for-1 special. So Mayor Adams, all his charges, they were dropped. So who knows, maybe cozying up to the president to get that pardon. Maybe it worked out for him. I know it wasn't the president that pardoned him, but with all the hubbub and him kind of flip-flopping, because to be completely honest, he was flip-flopping because he was down with the Democratic Party at first, especially when it came to the whole, sanctuary city and everything like that. And then when things started to go terribly, which we're going to go into that a little bit later, he kind of flipped on them a little bit. And he was like, well, yeah, he was still a Democrat, but he was playing a good Democrat.
We had to house them. We had to feed, clothe, house, educate 40,000 children, hold them into a shelter system, the complete package of what you would do for an adult that can't take care of themselves.
And so you tell the president and his aides this, and what do they say?
Basically, be a good Democrat, Eric.
Be a good Democrat?
That was the basic overall theme. One of his aides told me that, listen, this is like a gold stone.
Let's not even waste any time. Let's jump right into this video.
This week, the Department of Justice directed federal prosecutors to drop corruption charges against New York Mayor Eric Adams. Adams was indicted in September on 5 counts, which include accepting bribes and illegal foreign campaign contributions in exchange for his influence as mayor. Our White House correspondent Laura Barone-Lopez has more. Laura?
Amna, that Justice Department order comes after Mayor Eric Adams curried favor with President Trump for months, including dining with him in Florida. Today, Adams addressed the move by the Justice Department.
So let me be clear. I never ask anyone to break the law on my behalf or on behalf of my campaign. Never. And I absolutely never traded my power as an elected official for any personal benefit.
Joining me now to discuss the implications of this order is Jessica Roth, former federal prosecutor for the Southern District of New York and professor at the Cardozo School of Law. Jessica, thanks so much for joining. To start, what's your reaction to this DOJ order?
This is a highly unusual situation, to put it mildly. It is very unusual for the Deputy Attorney General to direct prosecutors in a U.S. Attorney's office to drop a case that has already been indicted. And the memo that contains that direction says a number of things that are highly, highly disturbing.
Yeah, I want to talk about that memo. In it, to prosecutors, acting U.S. Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove said the case should be dismissed because it restricts Mayor Adams' ability to, quote, devote full attention and resources to the illegal immigration and violent crime that Bove claims escalated under President Biden. Bove also cited Adams' re-election campaign. Jessica, these look like expressly political reasons for dropping this case. What do you make of them?
I'll give her second. Let me tell you exactly what I think it is. Yeah, it's a crock of bull. He curried up to president to pretty much, get his way and get out of it, because that whole nonsense about, to deal with the immigration, yeah, he should have been dealing with that 4 years ago. He had all this time to deal with it. And then a re-election. Let me tell you something. I told my people up in New York, y'all vote this man back in, y'all deserve every single last thing that y'all get. Every single last thing that y'all get. Vote him back in. Get him back in. Get his ass out and vote for someone else. And let's not do the whole, they have to be black. Look, I'm for my people. Through and through. But I'm going to hold them accountable and call them out. And the fact of the matter is, the more we keep going for this goddamn skin folk thing, the more we're going to realize not all skin folk are kinfolk. Okay? There's a lot of black politicians, mayors and governors that are screwing over their cities and their states. Okay, so we need to stop with this. Oh, well, he's black. No, that's what got him in. That's what happened over there in Chicago. They got Lori Lightfoot. They got her little gremlin ass out of there, and then they put, Brandon Johnson in there, and now look at them. They also get in. They're getting their shit kicked in. So elect someone. The New Yorkers out there, please elect someone that's gonna make sense and do what they gotta do. It doesn't matter if they're white, doesn't matter if they're brown, doesn't matter if they're yellow. It doesn't matter what color they are. All right, and make sure they're gonna do the job. That's it.
Yes, they do come across as expressly political reasons, and that's exactly the opposite about how decisions about who shall be prosecuted should be made. And that's part of why decisions about whether cases should proceed are ordinarily left to the professional judgment of the line prosecutors who investigated the case and charged it, and why the more political actors at Main Justice, who have the most contact with the White House, generally do not play a role in making those decisions. The memo that contains this direction to dismiss the case makes very clear that the decision has nothing to do with the merits of the case, nothing to do with the strength of the evidence or with the validity of the legal theories. Instead, what it says essentially is that Mayor Adams is a political ally and he is expedient to the president in pursuing his immigration agenda. And for that reason, the charges should be dismissed. Although it also says that the charges should be reevaluated following the November 25 mayoral election by the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, the permanent U.S. Attorney, when and if that person is sworn in, and that the charges should be dismissed without prejudice, meaning that they could be refiled at some later date. And so that holds over Mayor Adams' head the possibility that the charges could be restarted if, in fact, he does not comport himself in a way that is viewed favorably by the president and the leadership at the Department of Justice.
Mayor Adams has repeatedly accused prosecutors of bringing the corruption charges against him for his criticisms of the Biden administration's immigration policies. But just last month, the Southern District of New York attorney Danielle Sassoon defended her case, saying that they have, quote, concrete evidence of crimes. Her office declined to respond to a NewsHour request about what may come next. But ultimately, what can happen to the Southern District of New York's reputation for independence here?
I hate that I'm cutting her off every time she tries to speak. But two things can be true at the same time. Yes, those charges were brought up against him because he went up against the Biden administration and everything like that, because he started speaking out of turn when he wasn't supposed to. And it's also true that there was some corruption and some not so good salacious things going on. But I have this firm belief that, I can't even say firm belief, I know for a fact that there came a point in time where he was down with the Biden administration, and I'm gonna show some examples of videos on the screen where he pretty much had to do what he had to do when it came to inviting migrants and everything like that. Because what I believe was going on, based off of some other evidence that I've seen with other mayors and governors, is that he was getting some kickback. I don't know if he grew a conscience. I don't know if he eventually was just like, you know what, this isn't it, I can't keep doing this. Or maybe he didn't want to do it from the beginning, right? He started speaking out against the migrants, started saying, hey, you look, we can't house all of them, this is ridiculous. And then you started to see, if you really paid attention, because I was looking at the news, he was getting slighted by the Biden administration. Went to the White House on several occasions, wasn't seen by the President Biden. President Biden came to New York City, his city, right? And didn't see him. Went to go see the governor, but didn't see Eric Adams. So what I think was going on is that once they caught wind of him acting up and not doing what he was supposed to do, not being on code, they say, you know what, we got something for you. We gonna teach you that. Because if you think he's the first mayor of NYC to have any type of corruption go on, and then miraculously they just found out and now they charging him, come on now. Let's be real. No. So like I said, two things can be true at the same time. I do think it was brought up against him because he questioned the Biden administration when it came to certain things that they were doing, especially when it came to immigration. But I also think that there's some fire to that smoke.
Well, I think the reputation could take a very large hit here if, in fact, they carry through on this dismissal. Now, to be clear, at the end of the day, it is up to the Attorney General and his deputy whether or not the charges will be dismissed. The U.S. Attorney's Office will not be able to prevent that from happening. But I do think that it will take a reputational hit depending on how this is handled before the judges in the Southern District of New York, who have for many decades placed a great deal of stock in the word of the U.S. Attorney's Office, including when the U.S. Attorney says that they stand behind the case. And because of these very clear political reasons for dismissing the case, I think that the Department of Justice as a whole is going to be viewed differently from the judges in the Southern District and elsewhere around the country, as we're seeing in many of these cases right now, where the Department of Justice is standing up and taking positions that really go fly in the face of the facts and the law in many cases.
So to end off with this, right, and then we'll jump into what's going on with Governor Hochul. He deserves all this, honestly. It's speculation that this is going to be held over his head. Good. My mindset is this. You were cool enough to do what you were doing before, right? You know, you fell in line, did what you had to do, and then now you try to come back and, you know, curry favor with the new administration because your ass got in trouble. You know, no. Go down with the shit. You were down for what the Biden administration was doing, right? When it came to the whole immigration process and how you made yourself a sanctuary city. You were cool for that. You were down with it. Fine, do that. Don't come back on the back end, you know, catch a conscience or whatever happened that made him start questioning what was going on, what they were doing. If you paid attention to the news cycle of him, he was kind of flip-flopping the whole time. The whole time he's flip-flopping. So the fact that this happened to him, good. Fine. I don't care. Whatever happens to him has to happen. Has to. But like I said, if y'all New Yorkers vote him back in, which I don't see happening, but by God, stranger things have happened. Y'all deserve every single last thing that y'all get. And don't vote him out to vote someone else worse back in. Don't have a Brandon Johnson situation. Please don't do that. Please don't. Don't. Be smart about this. But anyway, let's jump right into Governor Kathy Hochul.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry we were a little bit late. I was in the West Wing swearing in Tulsi Gabbard, and so I just came straight back here. So thanks for being patient with us with the delay. We're here today because we have filed charges against the state of New York. We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul. We have filed charges against Letitia James and Mark Schroeder, who is with DMV. This is a new DOJ, and we are taking steps to protect Americans, American citizens, and angel moms, like the mom standing right behind me, who you're going to hear from in a moment. New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today. As you know, we sued Illinois, and New York didn't listen. So now you're next. Millions of illegal aliens with violent records have flooded into our communities, bringing violence and deadly drugs with them. With me today, I'm so proud to be joined by Tammy Nobles. Tammy is an angel mom. Her beautiful daughter, Kayla Hamilton, was murdered by an MS-13 member in 2022. Kayla had just turned 20 years old, and she was raped and murdered by someone who should not have been in our country. Yet, he was released, flown to Maryland, where he committed this violent murder. I just want you to hear from Tammy. Tammy represents not only herself and her family, but all of the great angel moms around this country who have suffered because of what the Biden administration did, and it is over.
So you could feel however you want to feel about the whole migrants and everything like that, but one thing I can tell you is that from my own experience, traveling up to New York, going to New York, talking to family members, I have family members that worked in migrant shelters and everything like that. I have family members and friends that have lived across from migrant shelters, and I'm telling you for a fact. And before I even say this, let me just set a precedence down. New York is not a safe place in general. It's not. You know what I'm saying? We can sit here and debate it all we want. It's not. And it hasn't been for years. I've talked to people all across Brooklyn, all across Queens, Staten Island. Like, well, Staten Island doesn't count. But you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? The Bronx. I don't go to the Bronx, but I talked to like 2 people from there. You know, even my people in Jersey. And they can tell you for a fact, yes, it has gotten worse. People that have lived up from migrant shelters, it has gotten worse. The crime, the homelessness, all of that has gotten worse. The people I knew that worked in migrant shelters, they tell you for a fact, yes, they do have those that come there and they want to do good and they want to work and everything like that. That's fine. But I've heard some of them come there and they don't want to work. And they complain about a lot of the things that was like, okay, well, what are you expecting? You might not want to hear it, but it's the fact. It's the truth. Unless all those people were just lying to me. And this is before I even got into YouTube. It's the migrant crisis that made me want to get into it, to learn more about politics and what's going on and figure out why this is happening. And why my family members and my loved ones were potentially in danger. That's why. That's why. So, good on her, Pam Bondi, which I'm going to pay attention to her because there's a lot of hubbub about her. There's a lot of hubbub about all of Trump's cabinet picks. So I'm going to be paying close attention to them and how they conduct themselves throughout this administration. But yeah, no, good on her for doing that, because no one likes Kathy Hochul. No one does. She's kind of shit. And what she got going on and what she's doing, and the fact that it's one thing to be a sanctuary city and say, you know what, we have an asylum for some people, but then they literally flooded New York streets with people that they couldn't house because New York already has a housing crisis. Literally, the amount of my homeboys and my people that were up there saying, yeah, they building all these places, but it's not for us, it's for some of the migrants in certain parts of the city. Come on now. Come on. I'm all for people coming here and, you know, immigrating. New York has a very strong immigration, like, populace. My family, my people's family, like, you know what I'm saying? So I understand, you know, the attraction and whatnot. But when people are coming there legally, and then the people that are working at those migrant shelters, they literally, the people that employed them were literally telling them, hey, look, make sure you get home at a certain time, because being next to this shelter, going home at a certain time is dangerous. My people were telling me. And I seen it myself. So I'm glad on them, you know, for doing that. Hilarious and greatly ironic that, you know, Eric Adams, which he's gonna get his comeuppance, trust me, all his charges were dropped, and then Kathy Hochul, like, she just had charges, you know, pulled up against her. It's hilarious, greatly ironic. But yeah, I'm gonna keep up with this story. I'm gonna keep up and see exactly what's going on, see how she's gonna respond. I did a video on her not too long ago about how Trump is trying to get rid of congestion pricing, and I haven't really heard much from her, so we're gonna keep informed about that. But yeah, that's it. That's all I really wanted to touch on, was those 2 points, to really let people know what's going on and, you know, have you guys informed. But yeah, you already know the drill. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment down below, tell me your thoughts, tell me what you think. You know, if you think this is all bull crap, that he should still be indicted, Eric Adams, I mean, if you think Eric Adams should still be indicted, and if you feel like Kathy Hochul did nothing wrong, that this is just wrong, this is them going after their political enemies, which I think is a little bit of that. Like I said, 2 things can be true at the same time. You know, let me know in the comments. Tell me what you think. And yeah, subscribe if you want more, because like I always say, I'm going to be keeping up with the story. Peace.